Ladies and gentlemen, it is Lightning Round. It is Kevin Tompkins here. Britt Flinn will be joining us here in just a few minutes. But welcome in. We've gotten through week 5. It is now week 6 here in the fantasy football landscape. A lot of tough news this morning, so I will preface everything that we do here with the following news. Justin Jefferson came up a little bit lame with a hamstring injury, has been placed on IR. So I don't want to get demonetized, the Fancy Learn YouTube channel demonetized by throwing in the sound of silence by Simon and Garfunkel, but that is definitely how I am feeling, knowing that the consensus 101 so far is going to be out for the next 4 weeks. So definitely a tough scene there. Of course, Devon Achane also likely to be placed on IR. That has not been confirmed yet, but been slated to miss multiple weeks with a knee injury that has been really unspecified to its severity. Of course, Mike McDaniel, always the vibes magician with, how he is at the press conference. So certainly a tough scene there. Britt will be coming. Look at that. I about literally said Britt is coming right in, and here she is. Britt, look, I'm dealing with a lot of tough news this morning with Devon Achane and Justin Jefferson. My best ball bags are certainly taking a hit this morning. How are you coping with this news, and are you ready to crawl into a hole like I am?
And James Conner. James Conner is going to go on
Two.
IR too.
Oh no, it's
Khalil
Dan
Herbert going to
Mercado.
be out. I mean, yeah, it's DeMarcado season. I know that it sounds weird, and I actually wrote about it in the Waiver Wire article, and I was like, don't feel bad if you don't know who he is, because I had to check and see who he is too. But this guy's actually pretty decent. He was second in rushing behind Kendre Miller at TCU last year, and he came over from, I believe it was a JUCO college. He's also outtouched, I think it was John Daigle that posted this on Twitter, 17-0 on third downs in games that he has played with Keontae Ingram. So they definitely like this guy. They like what he's doing. And Arizona, as much as we talked about how bad that offensive line was going to be, they are 6th in rushing yards per game. So I think that there is some value to be had. Not all is lost. We've got some backups. KJ Osborne's already been running the routes. Now he's going to get the targets for Justin Jefferson being out. And Jeff Wilson is coming back just in time for Achane to possibly be placed on IR. So I know that you have a lot of Jeff Wilson in best ball. So just look on the bright side, bud. It's not all doom and gloom. We got this.
It's not all doom and gloom. That is absolutely correct. My Jeff Wilson bags are probably the only bags I have that are heavier than my Devon Achane bags. But Mostert bags are pretty heavy too, and that's looking pretty good, I will say. But DeMarcado is very interesting. His role has expanded the last 5 weeks. He's gone from like 5% of the routes and 4% of the snaps all the way up to week 4 when he was still, kind of splitting with Connor. 40% of routes, 35% of snaps, up to pretty much a starter share last week with Connor, banged up. So it's very interesting. The Cardinals are not as bad as we thought they were. And this is usually not the case, with offenses. We think they're going to be just bad. Look, we were talking about the Seattle offense last year and how bad we thought they were going to be with Geno Smith. Geno Smith wins comeback player of the year and supports 2 high-end wide receivers. Now, not saying that's what we're doing here with Marquise Brown, Michael Wilson, Zach Ertz, but they're all professionals at the end of the day. So this is going to be been a functional offense up until last week. Last week was kind of the big blip in the radar as far as Josh Dobbs. We knew it was coming at some point, but I'm not saying I'm bullish on the Cardinals offense, but I think there's pieces that are at least valuable. And DeMarcado is certainly going to be a hot waiver wire option here. So we talked about that. Let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings as far as, with Justin Jefferson. We know it can be Addison and Osborne. I'm looking to pick up, a little bit of Brandon Powell. It's certainly in deeper leagues. Jalen Naylor could be an option as well because he is on IR but slated to come off too. John and Pemba actually just wrote the injury update for Justin Jefferson on fantasyalarm.com. So go check that out too. That pretty much nails everything there. So that offense is going to be pretty condensed as usual. One guy usually is going to be the guy that steps up. But, it could be an all-hands-on deck thing because we've seen Josh Oliver kind of mix his way in and be a bit annoying as well. It wouldn't be surprising surprising to me if they play more 12 personnel too.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And Josh Oliver, like you said, was very annoying. I haven't seen him do so much over the past couple of weeks, but Osborne has been out there running the routes. He just hasn't seen the targets. I think if he's getting the routes and with that route share that he already has, he's going to finally see the targets. If you're in very deep leagues, sure, look at Naylor, look at Powell. But there's also talk now that Jefferson is out. Adam Schefter posted this morning that there might not be an incentive for him to return as soon as the 4 weeks are up because he didn't get the contract that he wanted. The Vikings are 1-4. They're absolutely abysmal. So what incentive does he have to return? Then there's also talks about trading Kirk Cousins to the Jets for some reason because he's on the last year of his contract. Aaron Rodgers is out. Zach Wilson, up until 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs, looked pretty awful. He still looked pretty awful against a very bad Broncos team. Just who knows what we're getting with the Vikings team. So anybody that you pick up is going to come along with a lot of inherent risk.
Yeah, are the Vikings gonna tank like when the San Antonio Spurs lost David Robinson for the year and went like 10-71, and then they ended up getting Tim Duncan in the lottery? Are they gonna end up losing Justin Jefferson, tank, and get like Caleb Williams or Drake May in the draft? Like just with an embarrassment of riches in that Kevin O'Connell offense, like that is a total scenario I could see. I mean, they've only got one win on the season, so it would what is the incentive to bring Justin Jefferson back? I know these guys are all professionals. I know they're, have a lot of pride at stake and, but I mean, for the greater good, it would behoove them to try to make a move for a quarterback while there's like two quality. I mean, we're talking, there's other quarterbacks out there, but May and Williams are at the top of the list.
Yeah, and it might not even be Williams because he's already come out and said, "Hey, these are the 5 teams that I want to play for. I'm making more money from my NIL deal than I am or I would be on this really terrible team that I'm going to get drafted to." So if he decides to stay at USC for one more season, everything could just be thrown into a blender as far as what we think people are tanking for and how this next draft is going to shake out. It's only week 6 and we're already talking about next year's draft. This is the degenerates that we are.
Can we start? I'm going to start doing some 2024 best ball. I'm ready. I'm already ready. Yeah, we are all degenerates. Yeah, we've got best ball resurrection as well too. That's an underdog. So that's certainly fun. Shout out to the chat here to Chris Alvis here. Addison season. Yeah, absolutely. Those bags are also pretty full, at least on my end. And you got to figure that he's going to be seeing a lot of the the prevailing narrative was excuse me, that Jordan Addison would be seeing a lot of looks outside of opposite of Justin Jefferson, but now looks like him and Hawkinson are going to have to be the guys. So very interesting there. Excuse me. Side-eye Muppet, I am reading your comment currently right now. I didn't see anything else in the chat box. So if you do have a question for us, certainly happy to answer that for you. Ryan Kennedy, should I drop Najee for a flex spot waiver wire? I don't know if I'm dropping. Trust me, you will not find a more Najee better than me, but I don't know if I'm dropping him quite yet, especially with bye weeks here. Like we have a 2-team bye week here with Packers and Steelers, but next week it's 6 teams. You're going to be hoping and praying you have someone to start. And Najee's probably going to be at the top, at least 15, 16 running backs, even with Jalen Warren sniffing behind him.
Yep, I agree. I would also like to know who else you have. That would help make this question easier. But I know that Najee's been disappointing and kind of an underachiever in that Matt Canada offense, but I still don't think that you can drop him. He would really have to be the low totem guy on your roster. And so I'm interested in seeing who else you have.
Yeah, it'd have to be a pretty shallow league for me to even consider that. Certainly, if you're starting ETN and all these other guys, then yeah, maybe Najee was a drop. But, in typical like 12-man leagues, I think that's still a long ways away before he can get dropped. Brad McCoy here at Justin Jefferson and Cup have no wide receiver depth. My wide running backs could use an upgrade with Aaron Jones. Should I bite the bullet, trade Judd as an Aaron Jones for like Eckler, Ridley, and Pittman? I mean, if your running backs are using an upgrade, Eckler, who is slated, no guarantee, but slated to come off the, be back for week 6 after his week 5 bye. Ridley and Pittman, I don't mind that, certainly. There's some ambiguity, like Britt said, about Justin Jefferson even, continuing to play after his IR stint. But I understand trading the 101 and getting 2 usable pieces, certainly in Pittman and Ridley. I don't particularly mind that.
Yeah, I like it. I just don't know if the other owner is going to go for it. I feel like you might have to throw in one more piece since Justin Jefferson is going to be on IR and they were just getting Austin Eckler back. You might have to throw in another usable piece to get that trade done.
Yeah, you might have to do some selling there. You might have to get on the horn and do your best like salesman pitch to get that one done as constructed. But no Andrew Cooper, by the way, dealing with some Xfinity issues. We are not sponsored by them, and if this continues, we will likely not be sponsored by them. But hopefully they get their stuff taken care of. Love you, Coop. We obviously share the same sentiment. Look, we've gotten through 5 weeks here of the NFL season, and as the saying goes, as we love to say on the show, new information has come to light.
Information, man. New shit has come to light.
Has never been more true than, we're talking week 6 here. And look, we've got to adjust too. We can't just rest on our preseason takes. My preseason takes are in the tank right now. Zach Charbonnet is scoring more points than Kenneth Walker right now. Drake London is a top 12 wide receiver. Look, we don't all get him right. I'll fully admit that. Jordan Addison as a top 12 wide receiver, or top 24.
Could be now.
Could be now. Absolutely. But Britt, as far as information that you've had to adjust to for 2023 so far, like what is your one big kind of adjustment that you've had to make?
Well, so for one, I thought that the Colts were going to just be really, really bad. Turns out that they're not. And even with the return of Jonathan Taylor, I feel like this might become a full-blown committee backfield because Zach Moss has been so good that I don't think that you can justify benching him. Taylor also missed the entire preseason. He hasn't had a chance to learn that new Shane Steichen offense. And now with Anthony Richardson out for the foreseeable future, also possibly facing an IR stint, which just wouldn't that be a kick in the pants for everybody, not just because I flag planted him. It might be Zach Moss in that backfield for a lot longer than we think. I'm thinking possibly until week 8 or 9 is when we finally get to start seeing Taylor ramp up. But it's going to be Zach Moss hanging around for a little while. Also, sticking with the Colts, I just want to say that Josh Downs is that dude. I knew that this was going to happen. I was preaching on Downs, but the fact that we now have the information to finally show that Josh Downs is the dude over Alec Pierce. He might not be the dude over Alec Pierce getting the snaps, getting the routes, but he's certainly the dude getting the targets. And that's exactly what we like to see from a flag plant guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Alec Pierce has been like the cardio guy, like the all exercise team. If I was going to be doing a video tomorrow for the all exercise team and like unveiling everybody, Alec Pierce would be on the cover of that because that's pretty much what he's been. 0.70 yards per outrun, not great. He's running. It's absolutely terrible. Like of wide receivers that got 90 plus targets last year, the bottom of the barrel was like Paris Campbell, KJ Osborne, Adam Thielen, and they were still at like 1. Like so, 0.70 is abysmal. He's just not earning targets, even though he's on the field. He's basically like before 2022 Allen Lazard. That's what he was. He is basically a blocking guy, a guy that maybe can take some coverage. Josh Downs has been in the slot the whole time, and all he's done, 1.67 yards per route one, playing primarily in the slot. Over 6 targets per game. Like he's been excellent. Like I don't know how you can, it's been really hard to kind of find a second target earner in Indianapolis for a number of years. I mean, there's been Pittman for the last few, but you've had all these tight ends and you've had all this just cycling through, end game T.Y. Hilton and, all these dusty wide receivers. And now you finally have some juice in Josh Downs, who I think should be at the end of every bench at absolute worst in any fantasy league. So I think he's a guy you need to go out and get. He's going to be very popular on the waiver wire this week. And then the whole Zach Moss is tough for me to parse because we honestly, we just don't know. Like, I know that's a very popular thing to kind of, just throw out there when we literally just don't know, because this is at the whim of Shane Steichen as much how he wants to deploy Jonathan Taylor. Like, we all thought that, Zach Moss would get most of the work in week 5, but did we think he was going to go out, not only do that, but just absolutely obliterate basically fantasy football and anybody who started him in DFS? No, I didn't think so. I think he's been fine, but I tweeted this out yesterday. Like, I just hope Jonathan Taylor gets the Zach Moss role. Like, that just seems so wild to me. But, this could be a gradual ramping up for Jonathan Taylor, which I think you got to throw Jonathan Taylor in your flex no matter what, just on the hope that he can maybe he gets 30% of the snaps, then he'll get 50, then he'll get ramped up. But with both of those guys there, I don't know if Zach Moss can be put back into the tube right now, because he's absolutely earned a role.
Yeah, and against the Titans have been one of, if not the best defenses against the run. Zach Moss was the first runner to have over 100 yards over them. And not only did he get 100 yards, what was it, like 160 or something crazy like that? I mean, it was 165
and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely insane against a very, very good run defense with their starting quarterback going out when they could have just stacked the box. I mean, you have it exactly right. The genie is out of the bottle, and it's going to be tough to put back in. And, I wouldn't be surprised, because they did pay Taylor that much money for that extension. Maybe we just want him to have like a pretty easy, decent year and ride Zach Moss into the ground. Shameless Colts punt there, but we do what we do here.
Yeah. One interesting narrative about the whole Moss thing is that with Jonathan Taylor, kind of, I understand trying to get your money when you can, but this also could have been at least the first game part with Moss getting so much run, where Moss has been with the team throughout the entire process. Maybe he got rewarded a little bit for, kind of being that, just kind of being there. Taylor kind of looking out maybe a little for himself. But look, I have no problem with running backs getting their money. I have no doubt that Taylor, now that he got his money, will get ramped up. He's just a bit of a tougher start, but I think you got to swallow. He's like one of the pills you just have to swallow in your flex and kind of have to deal with it. If you've had him for this long and you've held him, now you just got to throw him in your lineup and hope that he can get over 15% of the snaps this week. Like, I can't see him. I mean, Colts have the Jaguars, Cleveland, New Orleans. Like, that's not super easy, but you just got to swallow the bitter pill.
Yep, exactly. But, we've seen with Shane Steichen too, he likes to use committees anyway. So maybe this is just going to be a thing. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
And speaking of interesting, look, I've been talking about, my share of dusty wide receivers in my day. And look, I need to swallow a bitter pill myself. A little bit of capitulation here with one, a Detroit Lakes, Minnesota native, Adam Thielen. It's been very tough to not have hardly any Adam Thielen in my best ball portfolio. But look, the guy is we've seen wide receivers in their late stages of their career, guys like Hines Ward, guys like Reggie Wayne, Larry Fitzgerald, who have been big time target earners, who have gone to the inside, who have kicked into the slot, and their career has shot back up. Just being a slot guy, being a guy for Bryce Young, who has the second lowest ADOT in the NFL at 6.6 yards. That's like a match made in heaven. We've known that Bryce Young has a lot of trouble pushing the ball downfield. I don't know if that's, just a construct of the offense or if it's Bryce Young having probably a combination of both, with Bryce Young having his own struggles. But look, Adam Thielen is almost doubled his yards per route run from 1.06 to 1.89 so far in 5 games, averaging 9.5 targets, 8 catches, 79 receiving yards. I mean, I think it's tough because Carolina's already said that they want to get a number 1 wide receiver, and I don't know where they're going to find the capital, considering they don't have a first-round pick to go ahead and do that. So what caliber wide receiver are you really going to get? And if they're even serious about doing that, like right now this year, I can't see that. So I think this year where it's kind of we need to find the guys that are going to be in this offense for the foreseeable future. Adam Thielen is a nice bridge to that. So I would say he's a sell high if you have other options ahead of him. If you don't need the production, he's probably more of a hold, because if you feel like you can contend and you need 10 targets and 7 catches for 70 yards every week, obviously that's pretty valuable. But look, he's wide receiver 10 right now in fantasy points per game. It's a tough scene. DJ Chark hasn't really done much since coming back had an 11 target game in week 3. Miles Sanders hasn't been that great. He's dealing with a groin injury, but we thought that the receiving component would come along for the ride there. That really hasn't materialized. Terrace Marshall, Jonathan Mingo haven't really. It's been Adam Thielen, almost all Adam Thielen.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with Adam Thielen and why you want to hold on to him, because that safe floor and that consistency is really what you want in your lineup every week, especially where you drafted Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen was basically free. So you should have
dead.
Yeah, so theoretically, you should have all of these other high upside guys already available in your lineup. And then Thielen's just there to be this consistent target earner, PPR, gold mine monster. And so I would actually hold on to him, especially with Carolina looking as horrible as they do. They're always in a negative game script. They're always looking to pass the ball. As bad as Bryce Young has been, you cannot discredit all of those targets.
Yeah, I mean, we want target earners. He's getting all the routes. He's kicking outside when they condense down. Can't really ask.
And Terrace Marshall is just not going to be a thing. He's, we've been waiting for him to be a thing for 3 years, and it's not going to happen. I don't think if it's happened in year 3 that it's ever going to happen. I mean, we've even got Laviska Shenault still sprinkling in out there. And it's been Adam Thielen and an injured DJ Chark, who's been the guys.
My man Laviska Shenault getting some carries. He might be the RB1 by this time the season ends.
If Chuba and Miles Sanders keep looking as bad as they are, I mean, this legit could happen. How chaotic would it be to say that Laviska Shenault ends up in the Debo role by the end of the season for the Carolina Panthers?
Always the thesis of the play. It's always been the thesis of the play. Terrace Marshall living up to that 3-star recruit status for sure. Let's take a look at this trade question here. Twitch gang, by the way, representing, needs some trade advice. Trade off Justin Herbert, Eckler, get Josh Jacobs, Jordan Addison, 14-man half PPR. So I'm taking off. Let's see, you had Tua quarterback. Let's see, your running back, Swift, McLaughlin, Connor Hill. You're getting Jacobs back, Addison. That's even for me. I don't
like trading.
I don't like getting Jacobs though. Jacobs has looked very AJ Dillon-esque.
Right. That's the thing for me. I don't like that trade because McLaughlin, sure, he had a role when Javonte went out. Javonte may be back, and as inefficient as he has been, we still don't know that role that McLaughlin is going to have. So you're basically just banking and taking a big roll of the dice that Jacobs is going to be better, that Eckler is going to be worse, that he's still going to be hampered by that injury, and that this team in particular wants that stack of the Chargers with Herbert and Eckler. So I like getting Addison. I think, honestly, you got
to get a lot more. You got to get a lot more, especially in a deep league. If you're trading Herbert and Eckler,
yeah,
I'd be wanting to get like ETN or something like that added on to that. Like I would need a high end piece.
Absolutely. Yep. Agree with that.
Yep. Let me take a look here. The Rhamondre Stevenson experience has been rough. Should I give up on him as RB2 or stay patient for another week? Rhamondre's been a tough pill. I guess that is the prevailing narrative of this show, is tough pills to swallow here. And Rhamondre Stevenson certainly. I mean, just the Patriots offense has been just a complete disaster all the way around. Like we're clamoring for Joe Judge and Matt Patricia to come back as offensive coordinators. That's about where we're at right now with Bill O'Brien. But Mac Jones has looked bad. He is slated to start week 6. But
how can you in good conscience trot him out there in week 6 in good conscience? I know that Zappy has looked worse than Mac Jones has, but Mac Jones has looked piss poor. And also the problems along that offensive line for basically the past 3 weeks, 3 to 4 people on that offensive line have been either questionable or out. There is no protection. So I'm wondering how much of it is the offense, how much of it is the protection that the offensive line is offering, and how much of it is just that maybe Mac Jones isn't that good and people aren't respecting the pass, and so they're just stacking the box so Rhamondre can't get anything going. I think what we saw out of Rhamondre last year showed his talent, and you don't go from talented to non-talented within the span of a season. So I think that there are other factors at play here, but God, it's gross, and it's really tough to put Stevenson in your lineup. I need to see who they're playing next week because I do not have the schedule memories. So, I mean, that could be a decent lineup, but
Vegas, Buffalo at Miami.
But looking at what Max Crosby did to Jordan Love last night, I mean, it was relentless.
Another weaker offensive line.
Yes. And again, if that offensive line still has holes, which right now they've got 2 people questionable, we'll wait and see what the injury reports look like tomorrow when the rest of them come out, because that's usually when all the poop rolls downhill on the injury report. You might have to, just because I don't think that they're going to run or pass the ball as much with Max Crosby putting all that pressure on Mac Jones. But if he doesn't do it this week, then we've got some major issues.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't help. Mac Jones has just been an abject failure. And it also doesn't help that they have no weapons vertically that can really stress a defense. Like they have, Juju, DeVonata Parker. Kendrick Bourne has probably been the best receiver, and that's really not saying much for this offense. So look, we've been talking about this for years, that the Patriots are completely unathletic as far as our wide receiver group. This has been no surprise. Jacoby Myers, got out of New England and signed with the Vegas Raiders, and that the fact that they didn't replace him with Juju. I mean, I know Juju is kind of a known commodity at this point as far as like recognition, but on the field, like he's definitely taken a big downturn. So
was that the dumbest situation ever?
It's bad. Like they're gonna get Marvin Harrison, and we're gonna be hating life. Like I can't believe Marvin Harrison landed there of all places. And then he's gonna be the new like Bethel Johnson, and just the Patriots curse of drafting wide receivers.
N'Keal Harry,
who by the way is a Minnesota Viking and could also get run.
No,
I learned that yesterday.
No, we are not making N'Keal Harry a thing. This is nope. We're cutting it right here.
Yeah, let's cut that one off real quick. So yeah, let's should I trade Moore for ETN? I'm assuming this is DJ Moore and not Sky Moore or Rondale Moore. But look, DJ Moore, always the thesis. Week 5 against the Washington Commanders. That's why I drafted a ton of them in 2021 and 2022 was all for last week. But I mean, it depends on your roster. It depends on what you need. But if you need a running back in a 1-for-1 trade, I don't hate that. Like ETN has absolutely dominated this backfield. I mean, Tank Bigsby has not been a thing outside of like the most random green zone touches, but anytime you can get it back that's running like 85, 86, 87% of snaps each week and producing like 2 touchdowns, 136 yards in against Buffalo and London, can't really say much. And also no less than 3 targets each game. That was the big knock on him with Travis Etienne is, would some of the receiving component transfer over and get better in his technically year 2. But I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and I am a little bit worried about Moore once the Bears have to face these tougher defenses because they're going to key in on him. And outside of Moore, there is no relationship with Darnell Mooney. I mean, he got targeted a few times against a really bad Commanders defense, but it was either overthrown, Mooney bobbled the ball. He never could come down with a catch. And once these defenders start to key in on Moore as the wide receiver 1 and only weapon in Chicago, I don't think he's going to have the same production. Whereas ETN, his role looks solid. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to stop him. He looks really good. He hasn't necessarily had the same fumble issues. He's had a couple, but not the same as last season. So, yeah, I also would like to see the rest of your roster just to know, how balanced it is. But looking at it from a 1-for-1 perspective, I like ETN.
Yeah. Moore's next 3 games, by the way, I don't think you have to worry about any defensive, kind of resistance there in Minnesota, Vegas, and the Chargers. So I think those are going to be games where maybe Justin Fields keeps the train going. Maybe it stops a little bit at New Orleans in week 9, but they have a late bye as well. I mean, ETN has been fantastic. He's the guy that I would try to acquire. If you're able to get him for a kind of sell high now and more, I think you absolutely should do it. Let's see. With Washington passing 60 times, Jahan Dotson only getting 4 targets. Do I drop him and try for KJ Osborne? This is because Jahan Dotson has been just bad so far, and it's really has not translated over from, he was a pretty high touchdown guy last year with Taylor Heineke and that group there. And now with Sam Howell, that really hasn't translated, into success here. I mean, he's getting targets, but they've been very, very inefficient. We'll get Britt back here in just a second, but yeah, Jahan Dotson's been very inefficient. Like, how many targets has he earned? 30 targets. So that's about 6 per game. Only 1 touchdown, and they've all been of the short varieties. Like he's only running a 7-yard ADOT right now. So I think it's I don't know if I would drop him quite yet. I think if you're reeling, if you're 1-4 or 2-3, and you really need to make a move a wide receiver, KJ Osborne's going to be getting at least 90-95% routes. So I think that could be in a spot where, if you need the production now and you can't afford to wait on a guy like Dotson, I would make that move. Other than that, if you have the availability to wait, I would probably lean toward keeping him. What do you think, Britt?
Yeah, it really, again, depends on your roster and who you've got on there. I'm still decently high on Dotson. I think that the Bears were trying to shut down both of their receivers because McLaurin didn't do very well either. Where they were susceptible was with the tight end and Curtis Samuel out of the slot in the middle. I'm not completely doom and gloom on Jahan Dotson, but again, we talked about it earlier. Depending on how long Justin Jefferson is out, Osborne's getting the snaps, he's getting the routes. The only thing he wasn't getting was the targets, and I think he could be getting the targets. So I'd be interested in seeing who else you have, but I don't hate that move.
Yeah, and it's funny. I have both of these guys in my Kings Classic league, and it's a very dicey situation when I have to think about starting like Michael Gallup over Jahan Dotson. Like that is where we are in America, and that doesn't sit right with me. So I am willing to wait a little bit on Jahan Dotson. It's a deeper league where I can afford to kind of keep him because the pickings are slim on the waivers. You know that, Britt. In 14-team, 3 flex leagues. So tough scene. Let's see here. Exactly. That's why I'm trying to sell him high before he fails again. Related to more. Should I trade DeVonata Smith for CeeDee Lamb? We talked about this last week about wide receiver for wide receiver trades, where like I'm not sure what you're getting out of the deal there. Like I don't think it's quite a lateral move because I think CeeDee Lamb is a bit of a bump. If you don't want DeVonata Smith, you'd rather have CeeDee Lamb. I know that Cowboys offense can be volatile at times. I understand that. And they've gotten in some weird game scripts.
Yeah.
I think, in a vacuum, if I'm looking at player v player, I'd probably rather have CeeDee Lamb, but I trust the Eagles offense more with DeVonata Smith most weeks in such a consolidated offense.
Yeah, I actually talked about DeVonata Smith being a buy low on the ESPN show just right before this show, because although he's only wide receiver 25 in PPR leagues and he has had 2 pretty bad games, this isn't going to be the case forever. The Eagles' meat and potatoes of their schedule gets pretty difficult, and they're going to go against some tough defenses with the number 1 corner on AJ Brown. I really expect it to open things up for Smith, because even this week they've got the Jets. I expect to see a lot of Sauce Gardner on AJ Brown. Then they've got the Dolphins, the Commanders, meh. Then they've got the Cowboys. So depending on who's going to be on him there. And then they have the Chiefs. So I think that Smith can rebound. He's just had a bad couple of weeks. And like what you mentioned with Dallas, the game script, you have not seen the ceiling of what we expected out of CeeDee Lamb, either because of this new Texas Coast offense or because of the defense and the game script or because of a little bit of both. And I would kind of stand pat here. I think it's going to get better if you've got DeVonta.
Yeah, it does get better. Yeah, I was looking at that schedule for Philadelphia, like, wow. Like with the bye mixed in there, Dallas, bye at KC, Buffalo, San Francisco, at Dallas, and then at Seattle, which can be tough too. Like that's brutal. I mean, it's a first place schedule. What are you going to do? Let's see here. Thoughts on Romeo Doubs here. Green Bay were really trying to get Watson going last night. Romeo Doubs, this offense is going to be very volatile. We're talking about volatility with, the Dallas Cowboys, even more so with Green Bay. Look, Jordan Love looked not good last night, at all, making mistakes and then compounding mistakes. So yeah, it might've been a little bit of that with trying to get Watson going, but they seemed really, really committed to wanting to get 3 yards with AJ Dillon on every carry. As well. They seem very like the Matt LaFleur thing. Like there was a lot of heat on Matt LaFleur last night about, especially from I know it's Twitter and I know it's social media and people are going to overreact, but just his game plan going into that game where, wanting to just get that run going and not wavering from that. And just a lot of their line of scrimmage calls were very suspect too. I think Dobbs is going to have a lot better games, with that, but what do you have, that 12 and 13 target game? I think those are going to be more outliers than the norm here, but they go into their bye, then they have a Denver, Minnesota, Rams, Pittsburgh. Like if Jordan Love can't pull some good games out of Romeo Doubs there, I think there's issues, way more issues than we currently have right now.
Yeah, and I think with that offensive line and the pressure that Jordan Love is seeing, it's going to be harder for him to throw those deeper targets to Christian Watson. Doubs is that shorter to intermediate route guy. We kind of saw it with Musgrave last night, with Musgrave getting 6 or 7 targets.
When he wasn't getting chewed out, yeah.
Yeah, he was off the field for, what was it, Sims at one point in time? I was
Ben
just
Sims,
what is happening? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I think that it works out better for Jordan Love for those quick passes when he is getting pressured to actually target Doubs. I think this was a one-off. Doubs has been fairly consistent. I know that it's been without Christian Watson, but Watson is always profiled as a vertical threat where Dobbs is kind of that short to intermediate guy. He can run vertical routes, but that's not his bread and butter of his game. He's going to have a better game. This was just an anomaly all over the place.
Yeah, and we saw without Watson, Dobbs was running a lot higher ADOTs. Like he was at 18, 13 and 1 and 10.5, and then down to 4.5 last night against the Raiders. So these wide receivers have clearly defined roles. We know Watson can do a lot of intermediate routes and stuff like that, but he's primarily going to be a lot of deep shot opportunities there for Jordan Love. Dobbs is going to be the short to intermediate. Jaden Reed seems to be just the line of scrimmage guy at this point, mixing in the slot when they do expand to 3 wide receivers. You know, we know Musgrave is going to occupy a lot of that short to intermediate as well too. But just it all hinges on Jordan Love, just as the thesis has always been for the Packers. And apparently we have some breaking news here. A wide receiver that was not used in week 5 is going to be used a little more, but probably still not used in his new team. Van Jefferson traded to the Atlanta Falcons. Is there any other details other than that? I know you just broke that, Britt.
Yeah, so Ernie actually tweeted me or texted me. Thank you, Ernie. It's for a 2025 pick swap, 6th and 7th rounders. So basically nothing. It says a low risk, high reward deal. I don't necessarily know how you can call Van Jefferson a high reward deal.
That's the spin zone.
Yeah. Put that in the washer and let that come out before we call it like that. But yeah, so not a lot going there, but also does this open up the pass game a little bit more? Did they finally see Desmond Ridder? And there is a fly right in front of my camera. I apologize if it looks like just a monster in there. Did the Falcons finally see enough out of Desmond Ridder to say, hey, we want to open up this pass game. We're going to open up this pass game. And this is how we're going to do it. Or is this just kind of like, meh, it was offered to us. I'll give you the dirty candy out of my pocket.
Yeah, he might be like the lint at the bottom of the change jar at this. Look, Van Jefferson, he has NFL bloodlines. His father played wide receiver for the Patriots and the Falcons. Sean Jefferson played for the Falcons as well. So kind of a homecoming here, I guess, for Van. But what is he really? He's a wide receiver 3 at best on this team that also has guys like Kadarius Hodge and Scotty Miller. You know, I can see him mixing in with those guys, maybe running 25, 30% of the snaps. Look, the writing was on the wall for Van Jefferson when Cooper Kupp came back. The Rams, you know, Cooper Kupp is always going to get 95% of the routes, but so did Puka Nacua, so did Tutu Atwell. Tutu Atwell was Van Jefferson, but just has a much higher upside, can do a lot more things. And Van Jefferson played 2 snaps. So now I get to edit my target report bullet points video as soon as this ends here, because I did talk a lot about Van Jefferson not getting routes. He's not getting any more of the Rams.
Horrible.
Yeah,
it's just horrible.
I'm not going out to snag Van Jefferson anytime soon. If we're having issues with Drake London and Kyle Pitts, I don't see how Van Jefferson is going to be the Band-Aid that heals this Falcons offense, but stranger things have happened, you know, certainly. So we'll see what happens with that. But thank you for breaking that news, Erndog, our illustrious producer, and Britt, for everything here. Let's get back to some of the questions in chat. By the way, we do have a showdown lineup that we can build real quick here in just a second. Is Chris Olave not the best buy low wide receiver 1? I mean, I think he's up there, certainly. I mean, we just talked about DeVonata Smith, but got to figure Chris Olave is right up there too. I mean, he's not going to catch a combined 3 balls for 16 yards, you know, and that's what he's done the last 2 weeks with 11 targets. So I can't see him doing that in a 2-game span the rest of the season, unless just some crazy stuff goes down. But yeah, I'm absolutely buying low on Chris Olave. If you can, you know, kind of get him for, you know, half price, 100%.
And Derek Carr's arm's going to get better. I think that all of those targets to Kamara were very indicative of just how bad Derek Carr's arm was and how low yardage those 13 targets accumulated with. His arm strength is just not there. once he gets back to full health, Olave is going to get his. So yeah, if you can buy him low, scoop him up.
100%. Pick 2 to play a PPR, Waddle, Cup, Puka. That's tough, but God, I still just can't. Cup and Puka. I'm playing them both.
Yeah, I mean, against what do we say? Who has the Eagles this week? My brain is not braining.
Well, the
I just
Rams
talked
have
about it.
Arizona at home. And then the Miami Dolphins have the Panthers at home.
Yeah, I said Eagles because they played the Eagles last week. Again, the brain is not braining.
It's that fly.
It's the fly. It's the allergies in here. Fall allergies all the time. Yeah, I think I don't necessarily like playing the same receiver on one team. I think I'm going to go Waddle and Cup. But
I get it. I mean, I just think there's so. I mean, it's not super condensed, but the targets are so.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say Coop and Puka. I mean, it's what you want to say. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really with these 3 wide receivers, there's almost not even a wrong answer, even though there will be, because the one you bench will probably score 35 points. We'll get into finish off these questions and then start that showdown lineup. Let's see, 14 team half PPR is 2 and 3. Trade away Smith, Achane, Najee, Ferguson for Tyreek Hill prior to Sunday. Thought I gave up too much. We'll check the lineup in here, but that's a lot to give up Tyreek Hill. But checking out the lineup here, Geno, Chase, Moore, let's see, Kyron Williams, Breece Hall, Logan Thomas. Your flex is Tyreek Hill. I think you're in pretty good shape. Yeah. I would maybe try to upgrade the quarterback a little bit, but I think Geno's going to have better days ahead of him, so I don't particularly mind that.
Agreed. Yep. If you can upgrade that quarterback, especially with all that depth, do it.
Absolutely. Let me see here. I think I should try this is from the Jahan Dotson. Let's see. My wide receivers are Rhamondre, Chase, London, Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I'd try for KJ.
Yeah, 100%. Jefferson will look really good coming out of the tunnel in the Black Yetis, and that will be his Falcons career highlight. Yeah.
That's tough. It's a tough scene.
Colby here. Pick 2 to play Waddle, Puka, Addison. Waddle, Puka. I mean, we're going to see Addison get a huge bump in routes. I think maybe some slight inefficiency as Kirk Cousins has to deal with life with Addison as his top receiver. Maybe, I mean, Hawkinson too, but still, I'd still play Waddle, Puka, kind of. I think a bit safer.
I'm not going with Waddle against Carolina. Carolina's been fairly tough to throw on. I'm going to go Puka Addison. So sorry, we're not helping.
But if everybody's saying the same thing, then,
Yeah, then there's no discourse.
Exactly. What kind of show is that? Start 1 at flex, full PPR, Pacheco, Flowers, or Lockett. I mean, it's tough to set a lineup on Tuesday, I will say, but Pacheco
against the Broncos is just so juicy.
Is that a nice lead in to the showdown lineup where we put Isaiah Pacheco as our captain?
I don't hate that at all. I actually like that.
It gives us some savings. Look at that. That is a seamless transition. I don't think you can beat that. My resume.
So thanks for the question.
Exactly. Look at that. Like Tingley is not an employee, but perfectly set us up for the segue to our showdown lineup, which I will kind of bump that up a little bit so we can actually see it. But yes, I do like Pacheco there, especially going up against at home against the Broncos. Like, what are we doing?
Yep. I think we've got to get Mahomes and Rice in there because I don't know. I think Kelsey was supposed to practice today, but on a short week against a game that they're supposed to win very handedly, I don't know how much they push it with him.
Right.
And Rice, speaking of Rice, I talked about this in my waiver wire article, but he's not getting the routes, but he is getting so much usage in the red zone. His 8 red zone targets are tied with Travis Kelce for the most on the team. And he's been down on the 1 yard line a couple of times. I think we continue to see his role grow. And especially if Kelce is out, I think you can almost bank on him for a touchdown.
Yeah, and the thing that portends, future fantasy usage. Look, we know that there's a huge kind of revolving door with all these Chiefs wide receivers, but targets per route run, like Rashee Rice's targets per route run is 36%. Like when he is on the field in the limited capacity that he is, Rashee Rice is being targeted. Like this is that stat, which I know can be skewed by some personnel, but this is what we're looking at with like guys like him and Marvin Mims, where they're being so heavily targeted when they're on the field that you need to bump up their snaps, their routes to be able to help your team more. Like that's been the issue with Marvin Mims is like get the dude on the field over Brandon Johnson for love of. I mean, is Mims a lock button pick in here to pop off? No,
I just don't know because he had that fumble and was it a muffed punt last week?
That I don't know because I did avoid watching that game like the plague.
But as soon as that happened, he didn't see another snap. And so I wonder if he's just being a little punished.
McLaughlin at 7K is pretty nice though.
Yeah, I
mean, we got to feel it's a trailing script. He'll probably be. I would think he'd be in over P Ryan in that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that he's definitely more of the Joker that Sean Payton is looking for.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. Colts need to lose and get Harrison.
Trust me, that speaking of homecoming, my boy Marvin Harrison from Syracuse, watched him literally growing up at the Carrier Dome, so that would be pretty cool to see Junior go to the Colts there. But a couple, Michael Pittman Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr. It's just nepotism, the old nepotistic Colts here.
The Joey Porter situation on the flip side of the ball.
The Nepo babies. Let's go.
I love it.
All right. So we got 2 spots to fill here. Right now we're staring down 9,700 left.
Are we looking at Chiefs D?
That was what I was literally looking at. I'm going to see what that does for us. That gets us Tony.
I don't hate Tony there.
But who I actually do like a little bit more in Tony because the big playability is Justin Watson.
I was looking at the same. Yep. Oh. And it seems like, again, when Travis Kelce is out, that Watson has a much bigger role in this. And I really don't think that Kelce's going to play. This is just going to be completely a beatdown. I know Jack in the chat says Justin Ross. Justin Ross had like 3 drops in that game against Minnesota. I really think that he's going to get punished for that in one way or another. Not like you're getting a whooping, but where he's just not going to see the field. I think Rice takes over and Watson by proxy takes over.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, but I do like this lineup a lot. This will certainly get in somewhere. I promise you that we'll do that. But let's get back into the chat because we do have a lot more questions here. A little more Twitch gang action. Patriots Super Bowl bound. I'm going to assume this is Andrew Cooper. You might be a little wrong there, but it's okay. We love you. Would you trade Puka and Pittman or Amari and Flowers? For Amari and Flowers?
No, I'm holding Puka and Pittman.
Yeah, absolutely. Just traded Mostert for DeVonata Smith. Did I win this? Yeah, you did. Mm-hmm. I think you did. I mean, I know Achan's going to be missing likely a few weeks here. It gets put on IR at least 4. But I still think you won that.
Yep, agreed. Like we said earlier, better days are ahead for Smith.
Exactly. Who is the slot receiver for Denver? KC typically struggles with slot receivers, so looking at playing them as captain to be different. I mean, it's been a mix of guys. Judy's played the most slot snaps of everybody there, but Sutton's also played there too. Brandon Johnson's also played some in the slot, so is little Jordan Humphrey. So it isn't like one dedicated slot guy. It's a mix of guys that can play multiple wide receiver positions that really kind of fills that need. It's not like a situation where, Adam Thielen is playing 75% of the slot snaps. It's really just a mix of guys.
Yep, I agree with that. But I do think that, especially with the rumors of Denver trying to blow up their roster, especially if they lose and when they lose this week, they're going to want to feature Judy so that they can get the most for him in a trade. So I wouldn't be surprised if he went off. That's a very good point.
Yep, for sure. Switch McLaughlin for Samaje. Look, some in this house are calling Jaleel McLaughlin Baby Achan. Per what I've heard around here in my house in North Dakota. So I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, Samaje's RB2 on the depth chart. McLaughlin's RB2 in our hearts and on the field.
RB1 here, though.
Right.
By the way, Youngstown State representing. So look, these small school backs, are certainly showing out. So I am definitely here for Jaleel McLaughlin. Certainly we talk about the eye test. Like, I think he absolutely passes that. Nothing against really Samaje Perine, because I think he's been perfectly capable. But when you watch both of those guys, it looks like McLaughlin just has like the extra gear.
Yep, I completely agree.
I mean, you might be looking at the next Philip Lindsay here, but who knows? Could be more. If we get Philip Lindsay out of Jaleel McLaughlin, I think we've done pretty good.
Yeah,
100%.
I would agree.
Yep. All right. Well, I think it's time to saddle up here. Definitely a great show. Britt, what do you got? What are you working on this week for Fantasy Alarm?
Yeah, so I just dropped my waiver wire article for this week. I know it's nasty out there, folks, but we're doing our best to help you win your matchups out there. Weekly matchup previews come out on Thursday. Britt's Fantasy Blitz is at 1 p.m. Eastern this week instead of 2 p.m. Eastern. And maybe a new song or two on Twitter at Britt_Flinn.
Definitely. The Kyle Pitts one, definitely a crowd pleaser. I've got my target report bullet points that I'm be working on literally as soon as this ends to account for the Van Jefferson trade to the Falcons. So lots of good stuff there. Of course, target report on Thursday. And then Coop, we miss you, buddy. We will see you next week. Hopefully get your internet issues taken care of. Anything else, Britt, before we get out of here?
Nope, that's it for me.
Perfect. We will see you guys later. We'll see you guys next week. Stay tuned for Alarm Fantasy Football. By the way, Scamper's rolling in right here. Really late. Can you start the show over? The best part is you can take that little dial on YouTube and slide it all the way to the left, and then go hit us up with a like on the video too. Anybody in the chat. So we will see you guys next week. For Britt, for Andrew Cooper, who can't be here, Kevin Tompkins. Toodles.